they have to deal with, and they tell me this, is that putting this all together is tough. There's a lot to it, and you just started. I mean, we're just getting into the third class. Last week I gave you an introduction through the listing presentation of a lot of the things that you're going to be delivering to your clients, and you start to realize, wow, there's a lot there. There's a lot that I need to learn how. I'm really going to hit you with the fire hose next week, unfortunately. If you're not prepared next week, you are going to be overwhelmed. I promise that you will. Even if you're young and you love social media and marketing and strategy, or digital marketing and digital marketing strategies, you'll find that a lot of the stuff is newer and more unique than maybe what you're doing before. I honestly believe that the MLS represents about 25% of the potential buyers for the properties that you're selling out there in terms of reach. Basically, people that get listing alerts from their agents are going to get that listing that you put out there. You're missing out on about 75% of potential buyers and interest in your property and interested in your business if you don't know how to market digitally using AI targeted marketing, which we're going to talk about next week. So be ready for that. It is a doozy. But if you read the chapter beforehand and start to get at least a good idea of what I'm going to be talking about, it won't seem overwhelming. A lot of this is going to be like, if you ever had kids that had to learn how to drive, the 16-year-old kids that they get in the car and they see all the dials and knobs and, the mirrors and trying to merge into traffic. It's overwhelming. It seems like, how the heck am I going to learn how to do this? They're so determined, though, that they don't want to be stuck at home without a car that they could drive, that they just figure it out, right? That determination is what gets them past the ordeal and the frustration of trying to learn something that has so much to it, right? And then within 2 weeks, they're texting while they're driving, and they don't even think about driving anymore. It'll be the same for you as if you can implement the things that I teach you. It won't be hard to put it all together over time, but at first it'll feel really overwhelming, and it will feel hard. But if you can do hard things and you can set yourself up in this way that Captivate teaches, which is to bring more value to the real estate service offering instead of being just a great transactional coordinator, you'll find that the business is great once that happens. The demand is huge. We have so many clients, and I meet them all the time, and my agents that I coach, tell me about their experiences with people that are desperately looking for help from professionals that go beyond the transaction. Anybody can do the transaction. Every one of you can do it. Any other agent can do it. Even the discount services can do it. But when you help people get their homes ready to sell and they make more money for those properties, when you help them prepare to buy and sell instead of just doing the transaction itself, you'll find that the demand for that is very big, and the opportunities are much more than just chasing after people that are trying to, frantically get things done that they think you can help them with in terms of the transaction, but didn't realize you have so much more to offer. Okay? So today's class is about staging and flipping. I'm flying out of Colorado Springs, just a side note, so I have to leave a little early today. But I will get it all in, everything that we need to get in, before I take off. So if you have questions, you know that you have your InterCap loan officers who we're training as well. They have their own Captivate program that they go through, and they're some of them, because they're newer to this, are learning it as you learn about it. But they're committed to be your accountability coaches, basically help you to implement the things that I'm teaching during this time. We do offer an actual coaching group session. It's called Cap 88. It's an 88-day kind of like boot camp where we actually help you set up the tools and the technologies that we recommend. You actually bring your laptop. It's like the difference between lecture and lab. This is like the lecture, like if you went to a university, and then the lab is when you actually go in and you have to figure out how to do the things that the teacher lectured about. That's kind of what that's about. So if you're struggling with putting the technology together, kind of setting this all up, go to your InterCap loan officer, ask about how to be either a part of that group or just work with them, and we'll figure it out with you. I hope that what you find from this coaching that I'm giving you is that no matter how much of this you already know or already do to some degree, some of you are veterans that have done a lot of this, I think you'll find that the biggest difference is that we're becoming so much more intentional about this consulting offering, and packaging it up and being consistent about offering these things with everybody that you do business with is what's going to build and grow your business. As a real estate agent, you wear a lot of hats, and a lot of times everything you know is right in here. You ever notice that? and you kind of do whatever you need to do as you go along the day, but it's not very strategic or intentional. It's just like reactive, right? And you do a lot of great things, but your clients don't always see it, they don't understand it, and it's not consistent enough that it builds a brand identity. You've probably heard that term before, like what do you stand for? We talked about that in the first class, is that many of you stand for being available whenever someone calls and says jump, right? That's not a great way to make a living. And some of you are having to discount your commission to compete with these discount services. Come on up. And so that makes it difficult to be competitive in a market where discount and being available 24/7 is really the name of the game. And if you don't want to get burnt out, the demand for high value services is huge, but it has to be very intentional, very specific, something visible and tangible to your clients, or they're just not going to buy into it, right? If you don't feel like you're getting certain value that someone says they're selling to you, then you're going to go out and get it cheaper somewhere else, right? Isn't that what it comes down to? So if you can't showcase your value and do it consistently, and it has a name to it and has an offering that they can put their hands on, then they're just not going to believe you, right? So that's hopefully what you're trying to get, or what I can offer to you through this program. So today, the class is about staging and flipping. Now, why do we call it flipping, right? How many of you flipped a house before? Yeah, good. A good number of you have. Every hand should be up in this room, by the way. If you're a real estate professional and you plan on doing this as a career, there's no reason why you shouldn't be flipping houses on a regular basis. And if you don't flip them, then you should be renting them out, and maybe a combination of the two. There's two main reasons that should be the case, right? What's one of them? Or either one of them. What do you think is a reason that you should be doing flipping and rental properties while you're a real estate agent?
Contacts.
What was that?
Contacts.
Contacts?
Everything. Somebody asks you, hey, I need to know X, Y, or Z. You're like, hey, I got a whole array of people.
Yeah. Not only are your partners, and we have different kind. Well, I won't get into that sidetrack, but strategic partners and support partners. But yeah, having those people that you don't have to be everything to everyone. That's a misunderstanding of a lot of real estate agents. I'm supposed to work alone, and I'm supposed to be able to do everything for everyone, and you do a lot of times try to do that. You can build your network, your strategic partner base, your support partner base, and then of course all the other people that need you as much as you need them in order to help people buy and sell homes. So one of the reasons you should be flipping homes and should be getting rental properties is for the purpose of understanding that process. You can't teach people how to buy real estate, manage real estate, invest in real estate, all those things that have to do with consulting and real estate if you haven't done it yourself. So make sure you take that time to do it. And the other part of it is it's really good money, right? How are you all going to retire, by the way? Seriously, how are you going to? Exactly. 95% of millionaires in this country made their money by what industry? Real estate, right? If you're not doing that yourself, and the other part of that, maybe there's a third reason I should say, is you're running into opportunities all the time. How many of you seen all these great properties that someone's just like, I'm done with it, I want to get rid of it, it's stinky, it's smelly, and they sell it for pennies, when you could buy it, you could flip it, you could rent it out, all sorts of great opportunities that you're going to run into. Your ability to transact the deal too, and of course, we won't get into that, but work with your brokerage about making sure that your duties, as a real estate agent, aren't compromised. Your fiduciary duties is the word I was looking for, so that you, buy property, but without taking advantage of people, right? That you're trying to support and help. But aside from that, your ability throughout your career to buy properties, rent them out, flip properties, and sell the properties. How many real estate agents have second jobs out there, right? During the winter season when things start to slow down, so many agents, right, that are working at the retail stores during the Christmas holidays and stuff like that to make some extra money. Do it a couple of seasons if you have to when you're first starting out, but you really should be buying properties and learning how to improve on them and make good money. If you're not making $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 from a property that you flip, as well as properties that you help other people flip, then you're missing out on the opportunity to build your skill set, to build your contact database, your people that you're going to help support others with, and just knowing what it takes to do all that. Right? So that's an important thing to do. So that's what we call this staging and flipping. You're helping your clients flip their homes into better profits, right? What does everybody want that sells their home? You know, the two things they want? The most money they can get, net gain, and the fastest, or we call it just in time. That's right. And we try to teach them just in time so that they know that the next time that it comes around, if it didn't happen that time, they should call you 4 months before they want to sell the house, not 4 weeks, right? Because that way you can help them get through that process better and give them more of what they want, okay? So let's go through and kind of go through the idea of how this works. So here's a house in a neighborhood, let's say. In this, everyone probably, like all of you, probably have what you consider a low, mid, and high range value of a property, right? Because of its condition and things like that, okay? So if you look, you think about this neighborhood, just, you know, imagine that the median price point for a house this size in this neighborhood, $425,000, okay? So how much would this house sell for in a neighborhood?
What's the condition?
Well, I'm just saying, what I'm trying to impress on you is what's the first thing we all see when we look at a property? The curb appeal, right? And people determine value in their mind by curb appeal. So if you think about in this neighborhood, if I'm a buyer, am I not looking at all the different homes in that neighborhood for sale? Because I've already determined that I want to buy at this price range, this kind of size of property in this kind of area. So I'm going to look at all the available properties like that. That's how you get your CMA, your comparables, right? They're comparing too. They just don't do it the same way you might do it with an analysis. They do it with the way they see homes for sale. So if this house was for sale in a neighborhood, average price range for a house this size, $425,000, how much do you think this house is worth to your buyers? Yeah, 350, 380, 360 to an investor. I won't even tell you what I bought this house for. I kind of raised it up there, but this is what it looks like. You know, to a lot of people, they're like, I'm going to offer a lot less for this property. Now, in the same neighborhood, same size, more or less house, right? About the same size in the same area, right? How much would this house sell for in that same area?
425.
Oh, that's the this is the mid-range. 425 is the mid-range. How much would this house sell for? It sold for, well, I had to up this because I bought this was about 8 years ago or so. I can't remember, 8, 9 years ago. It sold for $100,000, $100 and something thousand more than I bought it for. I'll tell you that. But in the equivalent, it'd be like selling it for about $550. Around there, right? It's a big difference, right? And what I guess I'm trying to impress on you is the difference between the low and the high on any given property in any given area at any given time is a pretty large margin, a big margin, right? A lot less than we think. We get caught up in these CMAs that are very narrowly fixed, right? We think, oh, a house is worth about this price. It's funny, a lot of times when I talk to agents, if they haven't flipped a home themselves, if they haven't invested in this way, then their margin is so thin. Like a house could look like a piece of crap, and they think the house that looks beautiful, you know, in that same area at the same time is maybe a $30,000 difference. It's not. It's a much bigger difference than that. Ask any investor, you know, that does that, and that's why you should be an investor that flips properties. So here's the before and after, and many of you knew already it was the same house, same exact house, right? But what a difference the two have, right, on the property. I'm going to teach you today 4 things that every property needs before it goes up on the market if you're going to help your client sell the house for top dollar and to get it sold quickly once it's ready to sell. Now, this is an exaggerated, you know, example of what you might want to do to a property. And I'm not saying that you do this to any of your properties that are your clients' properties, unless they want to plan ahead for this, because that will take more time to do and more expertise. I never want you to be in a position where you make a recommendation to someone that you don't absolutely know and understand is going to make them more money. Because basically what you're doing is suggesting to them that they spend money and spend time to make money and save time, right? Which almost doesn't seem to make sense. It's like contradictory to it. So until you understand how this all goes, you know, and we'll kind of hopefully get through this all in this class, you're going to give suggestions that are basically every house needs. And then if you do any more to that property, it's because you are completely sure that that's going to give them a good return and that it's going to fit within their goals of when they want to sell. Does that make sense? Okay. So here's what the outside curb appeal, which is, by the way, number 1 on the list of the biggest return on investment of improving a property. Why is it number 1? It's the first thing they see. I don't know if you know this, but houses are like dating apps. They are just like a dating app. You know, if you get on a dating app, and I don't know, you're swiping. Literally, that's what they're doing online. They are swiping through homes, and they keep swiping until they see something that looks attractive, right? On the outside of that, yeah, just like people that are dating, they're like, they don't care about how good of a personality they have until they look good, you know, in the picture, right? So you can't change the architecture of your homes, but there are some key things that you can do to every property on the outside to make it look more attractive. Power wash the outside of the home, right? Now I put or paint exterior. That's an extreme thing, right? We live in a dry climate, and people don't or paint their houses ever sometimes. I mean, it's not uncommon, right, for people to have a house for 40 years and it's never been painted on the outside. 20, 30 years or something like that. You go to the coast, like the East Coast, they'll paint every year. They have to, because the salt, water, and air and stuff kind of destroys the home, so they have to do that on a regular basis. But out here they don't. So if you don't power wash your homes, it's like trying to sell a car and not washing it first. It literally is the dumbest, craziest mistake that anybody makes. According to one group, and it's in the book, they say that a power wash in a house increases a home's value on average $10,000 to $15,000. That's how much they say. Now I don't know how true that is, but I know it's significant. A lot more than the $350 it costs to do it. Okay. Now if you're going to power wash the outside of the house, and you power wash, of course, the driveway and the walkway and stuff like that, aren't you also going to clean the windows? I mean, if you're going to power wash it, then you have the windows clean. One of your strategic partners, by the way, and I say strategic in the sense that they are critical to you providing the services that you offer. So that's what makes them strategic partners. You have your support partners, and you have your strategic partners. Strategic partners like your lender, right? They're part of what you do and what you offer to almost every single client to deliver what you have to offer to them. So a strategic partner should actually be a power washer of a home. You should know someone intimately that you talk to and meet with, and they know that every time you have a home for sale, they're coming over to wash that house. Okay? Every house needs to be washed. I don't care how nice or new or old or ugly. I even have people ask me about townhomes. Do townhomes need to be washed? Power washed? Yes, they do. What about a condo? When people walk up the stairs and then walk down that little, that way to get to the condo, if it's all dirty and dingy and things like that, do people judge the value of the property by that? So usually with the condos, I'll talk to the HOA or the management company, and I'll say, hey, I'm having an open house at this property, and we want to power wash this entryway here, right? Now, whose responsibility is that for a condo complex? It's theirs. They actually are, and who basically manages, or who pays the HOA? The homeowners, right? So usually I'll go to them, and I try to be as nice with everybody that I work with. I don't want to be critical or mean or anything, because you're going to work with them again, and they'll work with you if you're nice to them. So I'll go to them and say, hey, I've got this property, this condo that we're selling, and I walked up the, where the condo is, and then you also always have pictures, right? You did that tour beforehand, so I have these pictures, and I'll say, it looks really dingy up there. We have the open house in 2 weeks or whatever it is. Are you able to get in there and clean it up? If not, I don't mind doing it. Do they want you to do it? Yeah. Or some company? No, they don't actually. They're afraid that it could damage the building, and then the other tenants will complain. So they'll usually do that and take care of it. But you have to make sure that they do it. And I don't give them a hard time, but I will tell you that when you start working in a particular area, and you sell one condo and you do a really good job, if you get to know the management company there and they see how good of a job you do, they'll not only help and cooperate with you about signage and cleaning and stuff like that, they'll start sending you deals. They're another partner that you can have, more like a support partner. But just think of all these other people that you can influence and be able to help and support with what they want to, or what they're obligated for, like these management companies, and build your team. Okay, so we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go along. But power washing the property is really important. Trim trees and bushes. Trees and bushes are like, if you think about it in terms of a dating app, it's like, would you get your hair cut and styled, and would you trim? And if you don't do that, your hair is just like all over the place like this, like that house up there. That's what it's like, right? You can't appreciate anything beyond that. That's all you see. So get the trees and bushes and grass and all that taken care of. So there are companies that do this, they're called landscape companies, right? But you have to teach them how to do it beyond just even their expected deliverables. So they have fall and spring cleanups. Have you ever heard of fall and spring cleanups? Cost you a few $100 for most homes. They'll come in and they'll clean up the debris. Like a lot of the properties, I don't know what it is, especially with builders. Builders crack me up when it comes. They have no idea how to landscape. They want to save money. They don't finish the backyard, which is crazy. And then in the front yard, they put one tree right smack dab in the middle of the front yard. Like, there's my landscaping of this house, this property. And then those trees grow up, and then all of a sudden you have these trees in the middle of everybody's yard, and they hide the house. You know how many of those trees I cut down? I mean, I don't like cutting down trees. But if you can't even see the house and take pictures of it, it's just crazy. Like, anybody's going to sit in the front yard in a chair for shade. It's not giving shade or doing any other duty besides the landscape company decided to put it there. So a lot of times I'll say, put the tree somewhere else where it actually makes sense. But anyway, trimming the trees and the bushes, making sure that the house is visible, because people are buying the house. They're not buying the big oak tree right in the middle. Wow, look at that really nice oak tree. Where the heck is the house? You know, so try to make sure that your pictures and everything are going to be nice. You got to trim those trees and bushes. Mulch and fresh plants. So a lot of times plants and little bushes and stuff are neglected, and I don't know what it is about keeping them there even though they're dead or half dead or whatever. Just, it's actually better to have fresh mulch and small, newer plants in a home than having these big, overgrown ones that are half dead. So I have my landscape company come in, and anything dead they take out. They just know to take them all out. And I will talk to you a little bit about this as we go along. You have to talk to your client about why you're doing this. They have to understand that what you're helping them do is to flip their home into a bigger profit. You have to get them out of the mindset, this is my beautiful home that I grew up with, and my kids use that bush to stop their bikes every time they couldn't stop themselves, and they have these wonderful weird memories of how great those things are. You're going to say, this isn't your home anymore. This isn't your beloved home. We're getting this house set up for the potential buyer. So you're a flipper now. You are now an investor, and you're flipping your home, and I'm going to help you to do that. And I want you to make more money for your home, and I want this house to sell faster. What are the two things they want?
More money.
And sell faster, exactly. So we're going to treat this home now as a flip, not as your beloved home, right? So that's something you have to convince your seller that you're able to do. That brings more value to what you offer than the transaction. Because what does a transactional real estate agent do when they put a house up for sale? They put a sign in the yard and send over a photographer. Period. They tell their clients, hey, clean it up the best you can. And they're too afraid to tell them your house smells and there's too much stuff in it. They just let them sell it. That's why we have houses like that on the market, and they don't sell as well. So get in your landscaper then to do this spring or fall cleanup. And then I have to teach my landscaper, okay, I want you to take out all the, not just the dead stuff like the weeds and the stuff that's fallen. I want you to take all the plants out that are dead. If that whole row of bushes is dead, you take it all out, right? It all comes out. Then you're going to put fresh new mulch in there, and then we can. I would rather, and a buyer would rather see newer, smaller plants that are nice and fresh and green than old dead ones that are huge, right? Except for big trees. I'm not saying cut down really big, nice trees unless it's right in front of the house. But once it's big enough, it'll hopefully be not too much of a distraction. But you might have to call a tree trimmer or something out there for something like that. And then, so when they mow and trim the lawn, I'll have them use a nitrogen-rich fertilizer. What does nitrogen do? It greens up the grass. Now, I know water is a big thing. It's a big problem that we have here and elsewhere. So if you put nitrogen-rich fertilizer in the lawn and then let the sprinkler system, I know it sounds bad to say this, I hate to say it, but let the sprinkler system run every day for about a week. So every day, you'll have really good, nice green grass, and it'll be thicker if it hasn't been watered well or fertilized well prior to that. But you need to get the grass green. The way I explain this is like, putting foundation on. If you wear makeup, right? You put the foundation on before you put the makeup on because you got to have an even, color. And, you know what I'm saying? I won't go into there because I'll get in trouble. If I go into there, I'll get in trouble. Yeah. Sorry, I know. I'm gonna dig myself in a really bad hole here. But that's what it is. So I have the landscaper say, okay, I want you to fertilize the grass, and then we'll make sure that the sprinklers are turned on because it could burn the grass if you don't. In really dry climates, they even paint the grass, right? So there's things like that. You have a question? Yeah.
What would you do this time of year though?
Oh, this time of year, it's a little different. You can't really do that this time of year. So in the winter months, you do the best. It's actually easier to trim and clear out bad stuff during the winter because it's not as messy. And a lot of times you don't have as much of a problem with the view because all the leaves and stuff are gone. So you do what you can during whatever time of the year that it is. So this is primarily during your spring, fall, and summer months in this sense. But there are still things you can do in the winter, right? Homes that look better on the outside are always going to sell faster and for more money. When they don't look great on the outside, what do people think about that home? Yeah, they think it's going to look that bad on the inside, so they never even get to the house. If you want to sell a house for more money and sell it more quickly, you just need a lot of interested buyers. The more interested buyers you have in your property, the faster it's going to sell because it's going to create urgency, and the more it's going to sell for. You all know that, right? Mm-hmm. So if you lose them in the first place, if they're not even going to consider your property because of the curb appeal, that's why it's the first thing you need to consider, okay? Now, again, you don't do this yourself. You don't have them do it. Why don't you have them do it? Because they're all going to want to do it. Mm-hmm. I remember whenever I teach agents, because when I go and talk to my clients, I'm so sure of why this is something they need to do, and I'm able to explain it with that confidence enough. I don't hardly get questioned, but I know a lot of agents that aren't quite sure. They read that and they're like, "Oh, that's all right, I'll do it." And I do have some people that'll say that. No, you're not going to do it. And I tell them, and I'll explain a little bit later and I tell them this in a good way. I don't say you're not going to do a good enough job, which is the truth, and I don't tell them that they don't have time to do it. I basically say there's going to be so many things that you need to do to get your house ready that we're going to have these professionals do it, and because of all the stuff you're going to be doing, you're just not going to have time in that sense. I guess I do tell them they don't have enough time to do it, but does that make sense? And it'll make more sense as I go through the rest of these of how you explain or talk to your clients about that. Okay, so number 1, curb appeal. Okay, number 2. Here's a couple examples. I forgot about that. Mm-hmm. So here's kind of more of a minor update. Do you see the difference in power washing between the two? The stone. Mm-hmm. I mean, over time, stone gets dingy. Any siding or any type of facade is going to get dingy or dirty. So just power washing this. Look at what we did with the flower beds, right? This border right here is Lowe's plastic. Have you ever seen those? It's just plastic, right? Now, you'll do what, the owner is able to do and also what merits, that house. You wouldn't want to put a cheap plastic border on a multi-million-dollar property. Mm-hmm. But understanding that your buyer, if they walk up to a house or look at it and come into the house, if the house looks good, they're going to believe the value that it's listed at, the amount that it's listed at, is worth it. And if it's very competitive, maybe even offer more on it, right? But if there's anything about the property that seems dreary or not so great, look at what I'm going to have to do. Guess what they do, no matter what you price that house at? They offer less money. Mm-hmm. Right? They feel that it's worth less. It's basically when you put a price point up there, you're putting a median price point in their minds that represents that this is what the house should be worth if everything's good. Right? If anything's not so great, I'm going to offer less money or I'm just not going to make an offer on it. Okay? So what we did at this house, as you can see, is we power washed it, which made a huge difference. Things that you can learn, and we teach some of this, but I would just recommend, because trends change and things like that, you should be staying up with trends in terms of what works and things like that. YouTube is great. I love YouTube for that kind of thing. You can look up, and there's lots of agents out there, and interior designers and people that flip homes that can give you all sorts of good insight. Some of the things that I've learned over the years, that on small properties, a door with a pop of color is actually better, and then on bigger properties, it's actually not so great to have a door with a bright color on it. Just little things like that. We had a problem with the railing on this one. It's a little loose, so we took it off. You can paint that, new windows, some things like that, but the curb appeal here for a little bit amount of money makes a huge difference in the appearance of the property. Obviously, something like this that you see over here on the other side is a huge improvement. Don't ever do this until you absolutely know that it's the right thing to do with that client, but you should do it for yourself. You should find a neighborhood. I'm sure you have plenty of neighborhoods out here that are older neighborhoods, but are up and coming now, right? That kind of go through that lull of where there's a little bit of neglect and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden, people from the suburbs want to come back to the city, for example, or other things like that, and all of a sudden this area is kind of hot again. Buy up those properties, but be careful. You'll figure out things as you go. Old properties have a lot of problems. You knock down a wall and you find 5 other things you need to do. That can happen, but the difference between a home's value, if you saw that home there on the right, and then you saw this house, how much difference in value would you give that just in looking at the outside appearance of it, right? Huge difference. And it's still the same square footage. I think we did we actually took a bedroom away from that house because we wanted to make a master suite. So we actually took a bedroom away. I bet we still sold it. Well, I know we sold it for a lot more, but even taking that bedroom away, it sold for a whole lot more than it would have if we kept the bedroom in there and didn't improve on it. Make sense? Okay. So number 1 is curb appeal. Number 2, anyone want to guess? Odor. Odor is number 2. How many homes smell? They do. They all smell.
Like something.
They all smell like something. How many of you have gone? Well, who doesn't smell it? I should say.
People live there.
Why don't the people that live there smell it? Because they're used to it. How many of you have gone on vacation, like taken a week or 2 vacation, and then you come back to your house and you're like, oh my gosh, what happened? Something must have happened. We must have left something. Nothing happens. I'm telling you, that's how your house smells all the time. You just didn't know it. I know it sounds bad. I know, isn't that bad? Yeah, I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. Odors. Every house has odors. We lock the doors and we have central heating and we keep everything inside and we don't expect it to smell. Imagine wearing the same clothes for weeks and you have kids, teenagers. Don't you love teenagers?
No.
They will then close their doors and black out everything and then live in their stink for a long time. Yeah. And there's some bad odors out there. What's the worst odor? Anyone know? Cat urine is number 1. Cat urine is number 1. It's the hardest to get rid of. And cats know it too, by the way. Did you know that? Cats know it. The reason they know is like if you have a fresh kitty, you know how fast you can teach a cat or to potty train a cat like that.
Yeah.
You put a fresh kitty litter somewhere, they know immediately because they know their stuff smells. They know it. And so they'll stay there. But if you don't clean it out, they're like, I'm not going back in there.
Yeah.
They don't like the smell any more than you do. So guess what they do? They find a new spot. And then they'll piss there until that smells. And then they'll find another spot. So, yeah, some people just love cats. But if you love cats, fine. Take care of it, of them. But cat urine's the worst. Then you have the other urines, the kids and the dogs. Kids and dogs don't care where they pee. They just, when it comes to them. And but it's not as awful, actually, as the cats. And then you have your smokes. Yeah, we're in Colorado, so you have the weed. You love that. You have the really skunky weed, and then you have you know what I'm talking about. So you have all those smells that are in the house. How do we get rid of those? So I have to teach cleaners how to deodorize. Cleaners know how to clean. Most of them do not know how to deodorize. There's a difference with that. And agents that try to mask, or even people that do this too, they love their candles and their scents and their things like that. Let's take Febreze and blow it all over the house. It's like putting perfume on someone that hasn't showered for 2 weeks, right, or a month or whatever. It's a smell that's not good anymore on a really bad smell. So one of the first things I love to do, and I have to teach the cleaners to do this. So you have a deep cleaner that comes in, and I teach them how to clean or deodorize the home. Baking soda is my favorite friend when it comes to deodorizing properties. Okay? If you grew up like I did in the 80s, as a young teenager, you probably had parents that told you to sprinkle baking soda all over the carpets. How many of you remember doing that? Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
We did that. You still do it? Some of you do it?
Yeah.
It's the cheapest. You didn't buy a box of baking soda for like 50 cents, right? You don't have to buy expensive cleaners or anything like that. If you sprinkle baking soda all over the carpet and anything fabric that's stained, any couches, anything, and you let it sit for about 15 minutes, you vacuum it up. It's amazing how much odor that takes out of the house. Never, ever shampoo a house without doing that first. Ever. How many of you have had a house shampooed and then you walk in and the carpet's clean but the house smells like crap? It smells awful. Why does it smell so bad? You just brought up everything. You have a porous subfloor, you have a carpet pad, and then a carpet. that literally was holding all of that stuff. And then I love those the carpet cleaners that come in with their big, huge suction device, and they just right. I even asked one when we were first starting this out and flipping homes 20 years ago or so, and that even back then we'd have those big sucking, carpet cleaners. The floor was just a mess. And I was like, aren't you going to vacuum first? Oh, no, don't worry. Our thing sucks it all up. And I just imagining all of that stuff being brought up to the surface and then wettened, right? And then just left there. So, yeah, it gets everywhere. It is. So using baking soda, believe it or not, is one of the best things you can do. If you don't do this to your own house, you should try it. I love it when I teach that because I'll have agents that come back like, I just did my whole house with baking soda. And I was like, wow, it actually smells really good. And it does. It takes out a lot of those odors, those basic odors that are there. Even like the kind of old home smell, that old home smell. Like when you go into your grandparents' home and, So baking soda is great for that. Coffee grounds and white vinegar are really good to draw smells out of the air. So again, instead of adding smell to the air, what are we trying to do? Pull the smell out of the air. I'll tell you about an ozone generator in a little bit, but pulling smells out of the air is the key, not adding smells to the air. Okay? Imagine if we could actually see smells, what it would look like in the spaces that we're in, right? We wouldn't go into those spaces probably. So the best way to pull smells out, just basic smells, not really bad ones, we'll talk about that in a second. Coffee grounds and white vinegar are really good for that. If you take a little thing of Folgers and open it up and put it somewhere, it'll actually pull smells out of the air in the more smelly rooms. Those are like your kitchen, your bathrooms, a laundry room are good rooms to do that in. Coffee grounds works better, but they're more expensive. Plus, you probably don't want to drink that coffee when it's done pulling all that smell in. But it does work well. Just ask any drug dealer. It works really well. Just what I've heard. And then white vinegar is cheaper, but you'll have to change it out a little bit, but it's pretty good at it as well. Just take that white vinegar. That's why a lot of cleaners are using vinegar as a cleaner, because they're good at taking odors out, right? So if you just put a big bowl of vinegar, or you put your coffee grounds in a room, it will help to take some of those smells out. Okay. Your apple cider vinegar works for cleaning drains. And then the best thing about understanding about your drains is all drains have what's called a P-trap. Everyone know what a P-trap is? Yeah. It's that, I don't know why they call it a P instead of U, but maybe there's I don't know, because it looks like a U. It doesn't look like a P, except for it keeps the pee smell out, but it's more than just pee and poo. Maybe that's what it smells for. It's the pee and poo smell, and that's why they call it a P-trap. But I don't know, hopefully you know this, but all it is, it's very basic. It's been around for how many dozen or a decade, or not more than a decade, 100 years maybe, I don't know. But basically, it fills up with water in this U area, right? On this side of that is what? The sewer. The literal sewer is over there, right? And then on this side is your house. And all that's separating the two, a little barrier of water. That's all it is. So, if you don't have water going down that drain on a regular basis, guess what happens? The water evaporates. And if you have evaporated water, guess what comes out of there? How many of you have been into a house that's been empty for a while, or a new build? I see, it's funny, the construction new builds. You walk into a bathroom of a new build construction, you're like, whoa, they just tapped into the sewer around here, and you think something's wrong. All it is because they haven't run the water, they haven't turned the water on yet, and it hasn't run in there. It's just coming straight out. The plumber came in and put in the plumbing to the sewer, and then it's just sitting there before the sink and everything gets put on, and it smells bad. Don't ever, if you're working with builders, don't ever send someone in the house like, oh yeah, why don't you go check out your house while it's being built. Make sure that they should be covering that. A lot of times you'll see it covered or topped or something like that. So just make sure that happens. But that's what that is. So how many of you have had a house that's going to sit empty and you have to go in every now and then to flush the toilets and turn on the water? That's kind of a pain to do that. And here's the really funny thing, because it's even in your homes. When I teach this, everyone's like, oh my gosh, I got to go home and do this. How many of you have a drain in your laundry room on the floor? How often does water go down there?
Never.
Yeah. So when you think that the laundry room smells because of all the dirty clothes that are in there, it might also be because the sewer smell is coming right up out of there. So you need to fill that up with water on a regular basis. Now, I know this is film, so I have to be careful when I say this, because this is what I used to do. I thought it was good, because the RV fluid for the winterizing RV, have you ever seen that winterizing stuff? It says on it biodegradable, because you have to put it down there. So I think it's, when you empty your RV. So I like to put RV fluid down in those drains because they stay there forever. They don't evaporate, which is kind of cool. So someone told me once, you shouldn't be doing that because that's bad stuff. But there is a product called Brody you can buy off of Amazon. It's like $50 a bottle, where the RV fluid is like $5 or something like that, or $10. But that you can put down in there. It'll last 3 to 4 months before it evaporates, which is good. Or the other thing you can do, which I read about, I haven't tried it, but I read about it. I thought was really cool, because I shouldn't say, I still use the RV stuff, you can put water down the drain, and you can take like 1/8 of a cup of oil, like they say olive oil is better, not your cooking oils, but well, I guess you cook with olive oil, but not your like vegetable oil, but your olive oil or baby oil. And you can put that in there, and it'll sit on top of the water, and then it won't evaporate as fast. So you can do that as well, which is kind of cool. But if you're not doing that, yes?
How long,
Not
you
gonna
were talking about the bowl of vinegar,
Uh-huh.
how long do you keep that? What?
Just a day or so. Yeah, just a day or so. And if the smell is still there, then I'll show you some other things you can do. But those are just like the kind of standard smells that you have in the air that haven't been pulled out of the air, too often. And again, it's the difference between, am I pulling smells out or am I putting more smells in, right? And some of them will even, it's funny when I watch these commercials, like the Febreze commercials, and they go and they grab the bad smell and it poofs away or something like that. You didn't do that. Unless it's an ozone generator, it's not doing it. It's just adding more smell to the room. So if you want to get smells out, that's kind of the good way to do it. Now, the other thing that you have in your house is disposal in your kitchen, right? Or in your sink. Well, your disposal are like teeth. Have you ever had like a teenager, preteen especially, and they don't brush their teeth for a couple of days, and they go, "Hi, Mom, Dad," and you almost fall over, right? Because if you get food in your mouth, in your teeth, and it starts to rot, how quickly? Like pretty quickly, right? And it smells. That's what happens to the teeth that are in the disposal. So you need to brush them, clean them. The best way to do it is take a lemon, chop it up, put it in there, turn on the water, turn it on, do about once a week, pull out the rinds and stuff like that and throw it away. You just brush the teeth of your disposal, and it will smell. You'll get bad smells. How many of you're in the kitchen like, oh, what is that? Sometimes it's that smell that's coming from there, or it's in your laundry room if it's close by, coming from the floor drain, right? So take care of those smells in your homes. The goal is to deodorize a house, not to odorize it with other odors. You deodorize that property. Now, there are some of those really bad smells, as I mentioned before. If it's really, really bad, you might need to hire a professional to take care of it. There are professionals that do this, and you probably know them and didn't realize that they could do it with homes that just smell. These are called disaster professional type of companies, the disaster, like fire, flood, that kind of thing. They take remediation is what they do, and they'll take care of these really bad smells. You might have to have them remediate a home that has too much, a really bad smoke smell in it, or of course with meth, about that issue that you do, but you have to think of all the smells as something that you want to try to take out of the home. Smells kind of seep into anything that's porous. Yeah, thank you. It's porous. So what's porous in a house? Is cement porous? Yes. Subfloor porous? Yes. Your walls porous? Everything is porous just about in your house. There's probably only a few things in your home that are solid, like stone or something like that isn't going to suck up this smell, and it just sits there. So even if you repaint or recarpet, what are you doing? Putting new paint and new carpet on the smell that keeps coming through. So now it smells like whatever it smelled like plus new paint, which is not a good smell. Or it smells like new carpet, which is not a good smell. Some people think it's a good smell. It's not a good smell, right? And they put that over bad smells. So Kills is one of my best friends. I actually, as an investor, I love buying smelly homes. Love it. And I love them to sit on the market for 180 days, and then I go out and buy it for nothing, because no one wants to live in a smelly home, honestly. Anybody that buys a home that smells, they're thinking about how much is it going to cost me to get this smell out. People don't mind living in their own smells. They don't smell it anyway. They hate other people's smells. It's weird. You can get a smoker. They hate, they don't mind their smoke smells, car or whatever, but they walk into a house that smells like there's another person's smoke and they don't like it, or cat or dog or kid or whatever that may be. So getting odors out is the key to doing it. Kills, have you heard of Kills before? Yeah. Kills is a barrier. It basically can help trap smells out, but if you're going to use it right, you have to kills the whole house sometimes. You have to understand that you can't leave the carpet there and then do the wall, and it's going to go away. It just doesn't happen. Like with cats, if I know that they went in one area and it's not in any other area, but I can designate that one area. Like some of your disaster professional places will use a black light and find stuff like that because the cat urine is just so bad. But you'll have to cut out the carpet or take out the carpet. You'll have to paint the subfloor. You have to paint, if there's a basement, you have to paint the ceiling, right? And the walls and everything in that area in order to trap that smell out. If it's a lot of smoke, I've bought in homes that had chain smokers in it, and literally you walk in and you're like blown away with how bad the smoke is. 3 days later, you can't even smell any smoke. Unless you walk on the outside of the house very close to it, because I've trapped the smell and it goes outside from there. But you can't do much about that unless you take down all the walls and all the insulation, because all that smoke went into that insulation. Yes?
What do you do about the garage in that instance? Because I've seen homes that they've done that, but then the garage smells like...
So what do? You paint the garage with kills.
Burn it down.
But yeah, you can paint the garage with kills. Yeah, you can basically paint everything. Basically, if you do it, and of course, if the smell is really, really bad, it might even get through the kills. But the kills is a great barrier. It's oil-based is the best one, but a lot of people don't like what it does to the environment, so they get the water-based. But the oil-based is best, and it'll basically trap those smells inside of the walls, or inside up into the attic. Like you might have someone go up in the attic like, oh my gosh, it smells like a chain smoker up here. They go down to the house and they don't smell it, right? That's because you trap those smells up in those areas. Okay, but you do need to get rid of those smells. How many of you have heard of an ozone generator? Okay, ozone generators work great if you know what you're doing, so please be careful. It's deadly if you breathe it. So basically an ozone generator creates a third oxygen molecule in the air. That's the only true way to basically eliminate or eat those smells that are in the air. But that third oxygen, that third molecule is not good to breathe. So you need to know how to put it in a space, close the windows and doors, leave, wear a mask, come back about an hour after it's done, and I've done that in properties where I've had, I got this smell just right here, or I've got that mildew kind of old house smell, and it'll take it away. It's really good at that. If you have your disaster professional type companies come in, they can do it over a larger area. You can buy like a smaller one for $50 off Amazon. And just make sure you use it correctly. You know what they're really good for, why they build them that small? For cars. I've had cars before. I'll tell you why I had this situation, but I had a car that smelled like weed. And so we put... it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah. But anyway, we put that in there, and literally, it's like 2 hours later, you can't smell it anymore. It's pretty cool. It's really good at doing that. But those are things that you can do. But your goal is to make sure that the house doesn't smell, like anything. I have agents that are like, well, shouldn't you put in, spray the house or put in scents, or like some people will boil vanilla on the stove, or bake cookies and stuff like that. You're just adding smells. Some people don't like those smells, right? Some people don't want a really sweet smell or a cinnamon smell or whatever it is that you put in there, even though you might like it. And any type of smell that bothers them, they're going to have to live in that place. So they're not going to want to buy the property because of it. So don't give them a reason to not want to buy it because of any smell. Get the smells out. Okay. Any other suggestions, thoughts, questions? Yes.
I just had a thought. I had a client that did that, and luckily whoever bought the house also likes vanilla. But what I'm wondering is how do you tell somebody that in a way that doesn't offend them?
Yeah.
Like when you go in, do you just kind of give them this spiel and
every house smells. Don't worry about it.
No. I mean, is there a way like I like that you said. Like to say, a house will get this much more money if it doesn't smell like anything,
Yeah. The way I tell them about it overall, and I was going to get to that towards the end, but because you're going to see other things that you're going to have to, basically you're talking them in to doing all these things to their home that is going to take more time and money to do it. And if you can't convince them that this is in their best interest, that they're going to get more money back and it's going to save them, in terms of overall time, then they're not going to want to do it. So let me get to that, if you don't mind me answering that question towards that point, because then it'll incorporate all the different things that you're going to recommend that they do. Okay. So the first thing is curb appeal, right? Number 2 is odor. What do you think number 3 is? Declutter and let light in. Yep. So that's number 3 on the list. So when I say let light in, natural light is the best light in any environment, right? when we're in buildings like this, we want as much natural light as we can because all the artificial light isn't actually great. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't look good. But in homes, what do we want in our properties when we live in them? Privacy. We do. So we put all these curtains. I mean, it's funny, in the olden days, they had like 3 layers of curtains, like all sorts of stuff in big, huge box, you know what I'm talking about. So usually when I, go into a property, I'll basically say we're just going to take off all the window coverings. Now, if you have plantation shutters and they're really nice, that's fine. Just open them up. They need to be clean too. The problem with a lot of the curtains and things like that is they also hold a lot of the smell, right? I made the mistake once of hitting a curtain, just to show them, I shouldn't have done that. It was like letting off a bomb. Yeah, because how often do people clean their curtains? Yeah, they don't. Sometimes they open and shut them, and that's about the only movement it gets. But a lot of times they just sit there, right? And they just accumulate all that dust and everything over the years. So typically, unless the house is really well designed, like the people that live there are like interior designers, or they just really, fastidious, I guess, about how the house looks and every little thing. Like, hey, this looks great. In those cases, you have to judge that. But in a lot of cases, I'm like, hey, if you really like your curtains, take them with you. They bought them 20 years ago and they have significant value and they're not in style anyway. I don't say that, of course, to them, but that's what I'm thinking. Just, oh, you love your curtains? That's great. Yeah, wonderful. Let's pack them up and take them out. But I'll explain again how we talk to them about that. But usually I want to get rid of, and I tell them this, I want as much light to come in, natural light to come into your house as possible. It's going to make the house show better. The pictures are going to be better. And so let's let all that natural light in. Yes?
Do you take off, like I'm looking at that window, it looks great, but there's no curtain rods or anything. Do you recommend that they take off?
Sometimes, a lot of times if they have curtain rods, unless they're going to paint and stuff like that, you're going to leave a lot of holes in there. So a lot of times no, we'll leave those. Unless the curtain rod is 50 years old and or some weird, like, who the heck thought of putting that up there? But unless that's the case, usually I'm like, oh yeah, just leave them up there. But people are all right. Have you ever noticed if you go into a house and it's up for sale, there's no curtains, but there's a curtain rod there, what are the people thinking? That's where I put my curtains. I can choose what I want up there, and so it's usually just fine just not having that up there. But I try to, I want to avoid, just like you do, we're not making the house nicer for them to live in. We're not trying to get them into I want this and like this type of thing. We'll do that on the next house that they're going to buy. This one, we're flipping the house to make as much profit as we can. But we want to make sure that nobody walks into this home thinking, I wish that it had this, or I'm going to have to fix that, or something like this, to the point where it's not enhancements. If it's an enhancement, like, oh, I'd love to put an accent wall there, or I'd love to add my curtains here, whatever, they're not going to bring down what they offer on the house to get that done. They're going to believe your house is worth what you've asked for it, maybe even a little bit more if there's urgency there, and not discount the value of the home. But when stuff obviously needs to be fixed, carpet and walls or clutter, things like that, they're going to actually ask for less on the house, or not even offer on the house. Does that make sense? Okay. So this will make more sense as I go through the staging part of it. But the step number 3 is the first thing I want to do is let as much light in. I want to get rid of the curtains. Like a lot of the vinyl window coverings are good to have some privacy there. But most of those get beat up so bad and they're dirty and you can't even clean them enough. And they're cheap looking, right? So just take them all out, just take them all down. And then the declutter part of it, that's really tough. And as I finish this, I'll talk about how you talk to your agent or your clients about it. But we are really good at buying stuff. We live in a very bountiful country of blessings and bounty, I guess. Ask Amazon how great we are at buying stuff. And we buy stuff, but what do we really suck at? Getting rid of it. So we have way, way too much stuff in our house. And we're all guilty of it. I remember the last time our family moved, it was like 13 years ago, so it's been a while, 12, 13 years ago. I was convinced, a mid-sized truck would be just fine, we'll be just fine. I could easily fill 2, maybe 3 of the biggest trucks they had. Especially as I started taking stuff out of closets and other places like that. Like, oh my gosh, where did all this stuff come from, right? So what I tell my clients when I talk to them about this is, you're going to have to move anyway. Right? So let's move now before you put up the house for sale instead of doing it afterwards. It's going to be better all the way around. Your house is going to sell faster and for more money. And then I explain to them, it kind of comes after, I'll get to that part with the staging piece of it. But you're going to really impress on them that you're going to have to move anyway. So wouldn't it be nice during that weekend that you're moving, everything's packed and ready and sitting in a storage unit, and you just back up a truck and throw it in there and then move, instead of now I've got to clean 2 homes and I've got to pack and unpack and do all this. Moving is not fun. And so what you're doing is you're trying to convince them this is not your home anymore that you live in. This is now a flip that you're trying to maximize your net income from, your net value off of, or net that you make from it. So if you can put it in that context, make them feel like what you're doing is helping them make more money for their home. It's going to sell faster, and when it sells, you're going to be able to move smoother and easier, faster, right? The whole thing is just better. You're going to have to move anyway. Well, why not move now instead of move later, basically? Does that make sense? So we're going to convince them to get rid of a lot of stuff in their house. So it kind of, that's what you have to show them examples. You can even bring back those examples that you did during your listing presentation if you need to do this, but hopefully it was enough when you did the listing presentation. But you tell people, this is how we live in homes. Is there anything wrong with this? Absolutely nothing wrong with this, until you want to sell it and make most money. Then it needs to look like that. Okay? And I show them the difference between the two. This is a family that decided to live in their home while it was up for sale. But if they live in it like this and think that people are going to be as impressed as they would as it is here, they're wrong. And there's a huge difference between the amount of money that they can make from it. There's only one thing that we did here that would be considered a renovation, that we, besides just, getting rid of some stuff. What is that one thing you think we did? No, the floor's the same. We painted the walls.
That was carpeted.
No, it's the same weird burlap floor.
You just can't see the corners.
Yeah, it is. And we took it around the same, because you couldn't see that because this chair was in the way. It's their furniture. Now, we did switch out a couple of things. YouTube, again, is this great resource. And if you do, there's lots of interior designers that are on there that'll teach you the secrets of, decorating a house. Even agents that do this, because they're interior decorators and designers and agents. How many agents are also interior decorators and designers? Yeah, we have a couple right here. So I hate to say that you're not the only two that do this that should do this, because everyone should be this. Everyone here should be able to take an existing home with existing furniture and stage it in a way that makes it look like this instead of like this. Okay? So let's do a reverse wobble type of thing. What's the difference between these two pictures besides the paint? The piano. Someone noticed the piano. How many people have something like that in their home that they love? And I asked them, are you going to sell the piano with the house? No. So right now the piano is making that room look smaller. It's actually taking up space. It's in front of the nice French doors. There are companies out there, all the piano companies out there, guess what they do as a service? They will store and then move pianos. That's part of what they do. And it doesn't even cost a ton of money, maybe a couple hundred, few $100. Have them come pick up the piano, put it into storage, and then your space is going to be better, right? There's this sweet spot between too much stuff and not enough stuff in a house that is where you want to be. Otherwise the room looks small or dysfunctional in every case. So you can see we took out a lot of the clutter, a lot of the extra seating that they want. The curtains are gone. Doesn't it make a difference with the curtains gone, even though they were open over here? Bigger pictures. You'll notice that if you put a bigger picture on a wall, it actually makes the space look bigger. Just little secrets you'll learn when you kind of figure out how to
You added all that greenery
stage it.
too.
Yeah, we did, and guess what? That greenery is fake. So all of that is fake, but it brings greenery and pops of color are really good when you're doing design. And then most throw pillows are not only old and outdated, but guess what else? They smell. So we take those out, and we can put some new ones in there. I work with a stager that has been willing, as long as they don't get ruined, to allow, she'll come in and she can add pictures and things that won't get damaged. They don't want to put in furniture because people will sit on it and use it. But she'll do things like throw pillows and little accent pieces with, of course, the condition that if they're damaged, then, that I'll be responsible, or the people there will be responsible for it. But what a difference that is, right? And then here's the other thing that we see a lot of times. Here's a house. It's actually a really nice house. All the furniture comes from the 80s. This is actually better quality furniture than the IKEA type furniture that's over here. This is staged furniture. This is real hardwood. That hutch right there weighed like 400 pounds or something like that. However, when someone walks into a space like this, what's in their head? It's dated. How much is it going to cost me to update this house? And the funny thing is, the house wasn't outdated. It was the furniture that made it look so outdated. But it gets in their head that it's the whole house that's outdated when they see something like that.
Mike, I got a question for you.
Uh-huh.
Above the fireplace in the old look is a mirror, I think.
Yes, it is a mirror.
Which is supposed to make a room look bigger, and you put a picture there.
Yeah. Well, you grew up, we look like we kind of grew up in the days where we had mirrors everywhere in the house. Like every single...
He still does. It's immediate.
Oh, yeah.
How's my hair? How's my hair?
Is it above the bed, too? Yeah. I don't know what it was about having mirrors everywhere. I don't believe in that, the fact that making a room look bigger because of putting mirrors in. It can have that effect, but that's kind of the old school interior design for those that are interior designers. Is that the thing now, to put mirrors everywhere? No. It's not. It's not the thing. You know, it's really big right now, I found out, and I didn't even think, because I'm the kind of person that if I don't like it, then it must not be good. You know? So black trim is like the big thing right now. So we had a house, and we painted the walls mostly white, and then did black trim. I was like, oh my gosh, a black and white house with black trim, that's gonna look, it looked actually really awesome after we put the other things in colors and stuff there. That's really big right now. So knowing what's the trend right now is important. You should be keeping up with this, right? I was surprised. It looked really nice. I was like, wow, it actually, I would live here, but I don't. So it's an investment. So anyway, in this property, we did on this, because it's a flip. So this is why you want to do your own flips, right? We took up the carpet. It takes longer to do this, but when we took up the carpet, because it was a pretty beat up carpet, even though it looks pretty good here, for me, carpet, when it's about 50% worn or more, that's when I start recommending things like that. The only two things I usually recommend, especially when someone's more urgently trying to get out of a house, right, are carpet, flooring, and painting. That's really the only two things. Don't recommend knocking down walls and redoing kitchens and bathrooms, because you might not even make any money back from that. But the difference you'll make from good flooring and good painting is incredible. We found that it's about a 300% difference than if you left it the way it is. I even have clients that will say, and agents will say this too, that's how they learned it, is let's put a concession on for them to get new carpet so they can pick their own carpet. They can't see past it. So you know what happens? They see a carpet that might cost you $2,500 to replace, on a floor or something like that, and or more, whatever that may be. And then you'll have a concession to replace it, right? They will offer at least that amount less on the home, or probably more, and they'll still want the concession. Seriously, that's the way it works. It usually ends up being about 300% loss than if you just replace the floor. And this is the crazy thing, even if you paint all the walls of one neutral color and they want to do accent walls, and you don't put in the highest end carpet, which you don't need to do, they won't discount what they're going to offer on the home or feel like there's something wrong with the home that brings down that value. They'll just decide after they buy it to spend the money to do those things. Does that make sense? But if the carpet is bad or the paint is bad, then they feel like I have to do it. So what does that mean? I'm going to bake that into what I'm going to offer on the house. And whatever you put the listing price at, that's the price that they're starting at to say, oh, now I got to replace the carpet, I got to replace the HVAC, they start ticking away all the things that they're going to have to do to get the house to where it should be, right? And then your house doesn't sell as quickly or for as much money. Does that make sense? So those are the things. So this one, we pulled up the carpet. It had hardwood floors. How often does that happen with older homes? And so then we finished the hardwood floors. It cost us like $3,600 when we did it. Added at least $12,000 to that property. And I just kind of threw that number out there because I don't know exactly, because we did other things to the property. But the house sold for a lot more than it would have sold if we'd have just left it like this. Okay? And then, of course, you have the empty properties. Especially like your condos and townhomes, or your spaces that are just so poorly put. I guess I don't know what it is about architects with a lot of the new, especially the cookie cutter neighborhoods and stuff like that. It's like, oh, open floor plan is so good. So they create like this little pocket kitchen in a great big room, and you have to figure out what to do with it, right? Which is nuts. But you walk into a place like this, and this is where the renters just did enough to get their deposit back, and then they left, and then you put it up for sale. So a property like this, we took the blinds off because they were ugly, they were dirty and ugly. Two things we did in terms of remodeling. What are the two things we did in there? Yeah, they're not hardwood floors. That's called a floating floor. You guys have lumber liquidators out here? Yeah. You know what? I find remnants when it's a smaller place like this. When I say remnants, it's like, they only have so much of square footage, but it's enough that I need, and they call it a remnant. I bought that floor for 99 cents a square foot. And then it cost me $2.50 a square foot to have someone install it. Right? What difference does that make between the two? Right? Huge difference. And then the fireplace made that thing look really dated. So I just right over the brick, I didn't take out the brick or anything like that. They have this facade material that you can actually put on it. I think the whole fireplace cost like $800 or something like that to have someone come in and put in this new facade. That's the only renovation that I put in there. So we're only talking about, I think maybe a couple $1,000s to take basically this and turn it into that, right? But then here's the next step. You have one open room and you have to live, eat, entertain, cook, all that kind of stuff in one space, and you look at it like, how the heck am I going to live in this space? You think that here, but over here, it's right there. You see it. And you're like, oh, wow, we've got a nice big, wow, we got 4 people we can sit in there. We could probably put 6 in there. All of a sudden, they realize that the space looks huge and very functional, whereas this looks super small and dysfunctional, right? And so this sells a lot faster and for more money. This is staged. See that TV up there? That's plastic. Did you know that? Your stagers have plastic big screen TVs, so they don't have to pull in a big heavy TV or something like that might get stolen. It's just a plastic TV up there. How many of you have had in your master bedroom a blow-up bed with a headboard, right, and a footboard, and they don't even put a footboard, just a nice headboard. A blow-up bed, and they, of course, the bedding is really nice. That's where it all is. And then there's a sign on it: "Do not sit on bed." Right? It's a blow-up bed, right? People will do that when they go in a house. Oh, this seems so comfortable, and it bounces them back off or something. But that's what we're trying to do. The difference between this and this, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars and a much quicker sell. If you can help your client get even $20,000 more with your help than without it, is $20,000 a lot to our clients? It is a ton of money. For most agents, and the reason agents don't want to bother with a lot of this is 3% of $20,000 or 2% or whatever it is, isn't that much, and it's a hassle and it's a pain, so they don't do it. But unfortunately, it's diminished your value in the sense that you're just as good as anybody else that puts a sign in the yard. But if you can help them do this, they're not only going, that house isn't only going to sell faster and for more money, it's a reason for them to refer you. Isn't referral business good? And all your advertisements are going to reflect that and not this. Like if you put out a bunch of ads out there about with this property, and then at the end you brag, 6 months ago I loved the agents that would brag about, oh, I got multiple offers and it's sold in record, time and all that kind of stuff, and the house looked like this. I'm like, yeah, you didn't do hell for that house. You didn't do anything at all to make that house sell. The market did it itself. And right now, those are the agents that are hurting. Okay, so learn how to get homes looking great, and you will find that your business will grow. Your referral business, your repeat business, and your brand identity will be so much better than putting these on the market. Okay. Any questions about getting the house ready? Did I make anybody feel bad? Sorry.
Even just that door, painting that door and in the back.
Yeah.
Made a huge difference.
Yeah, it's funny. Those things make such a difference. And I forgot we even did that.
The vertical blinds are the killer that I see over and over
Yeah.
again in town.
And they don't even hang straight. Yeah.
If they're not collecting dust, they're like another color because they didn't remain the color that they were.
Yeah. And don't we all want to live in a beautiful home? I don't care what our budget is. I don't care where we're going, and what neighborhood we're in, how big or small the house is. I don't care if you have $1 million budget or a very minimal budget. We all want to live in a beautiful home. So the best the home looks, as good as you can make it look, the faster and for the faster it'll sell, and it'll sell for more money. And it makes everybody involved in the transaction so much more happy and grateful for your efforts than if you don't do these type of things. Okay. And it's just a wonderful thing. I think this is what makes doing real estate fun. Transaction is what we have to do to get paid. But this is what makes it worthwhile. This is what gets you up in the morning and gets you excited. How many of you like to go back and look at the properties that you sold, that you helped put together in such a way that it looks good. It's almost like doing art, you know? You have something now that lasts and that people are excited about it. And if you're ever going to do the pop buys or the, you talk with your clients, when they talk about how beautiful their home is and how grateful they are for having such a nice home, and they'll tell you that because that's what makes a difference to them. And you're associated with that, your value just shot up considerably. Okay. So here is a property. I have invested in properties all the years that I've been doing this. My first property I bought in 1995 with my wife, and it was a little townhome, and we were excited. We started fixing it up a little bit. We got art degrees. One of my first undergraduate degrees was in art, believe it or not, and I thought I wanted to be an artist. And so a home is like a canvas, It was kind of fun to kind of do some things. 6 months after we bought the house, I get a job offer on the other side of the country, and then my wife is pregnant, and we got to move. But because of the things we did to the house to make it look nice, even though we were on a very tight, small budget, it was just this little townhome. It sold the weekend we put it up for sale, and we walked away with $10,000 in net profit from that. And, at that time, that was a lot of money for us. It paid for all of our move and everything else, even though, well, anyway, it was just a great thing. And I got the bug, the real estate bug at that time. So we kept buying homes. Now, 2008 came along. We had 7 properties, and we've been flipping a lot of properties. And I was feeling pretty cocky, I have to admit, at the time. I was like, we had our, I had a truck that I paid cash for. It's kind of fun, to pay cash for. It was a brand new F-150. We had a boat. I had motorcycles for all the kids. I had 4 kids, and even the little tiny motorcycles, and stuff like that. And we had a toy hauler. Everything was great. And then 2008 hit. Yeah, wasn't that wonderful? And I thought, everything that I thought I was so smart about, I was like, I'm such an idiot, I'm so dumb, and stuff like that. But I hadn't rented out properties up at that point. I had friends that were doing the same thing. I had one friend that owned a landscape company that I worked with, and he was helping with the landscape. He was in the middle of building his $1.5 million home. That was back then. And the market crashed. He couldn't even finish building it. Bankruptcy and foreclosures. It was nasty stuff. And we did not want, we were careful enough, and I had a full-time job that paid pretty well. We're like, okay, I guess we're going to have to rent these properties. We sold 2 of them, I think, maybe 3, I can't remember. But the rest we had to rent, and I became a renter, a landlord at that time, not a renter, a landlord. And after about a couple of years of that, I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I'd have kept all those other homes that we had flipped, because I couldn't believe how it came back around and how much money there was, much opportunity there was in that. And we lost a little bit of money at first in what we could collect and rent compared to what it cost us for those mortgages, but it wasn't as much as I thought. We never had a single month during that whole time with all those properties that we didn't have our properties rented out. It was crazy. I had to learn a lot. There's a whole class I teach just on investing in properties, and it's a fun class. If you want to, I'll come back out for that because it's not part of this series. But we actually teach millennials how to use property ownership and rental properties and house hacking, things like that, and create a retirement plan out of it. And it's really fun. It's a really cool thing. But anyway, so this is one of the houses that we own. We actually ended up moving into the house, not that we wanted to, but we're like, it was a big house. Is on a half an acre, it's like 4,200 square foot house or something like that. And we ended up moving into it as we were fixing it up. We were about $110,000 underwater is what we were thinking on this property from the time that we bought it and what the market did at that time. So we did end up moving from this house and to the Salt Lake area, and so we rented it out. It rented for 9 years, right? Wow. So we had it rented for 9 years, and we never had a 1 month that it didn't rent, right? So, for those of you, how many of you think that renters destroy properties and it's such a headache and all that kind of stuff? If you do it right, it's actually a wonderful thing. If you think about all the time and money that you spend on your job to make what you make, and the amount you can make on a rental property, the amount of time, sometimes it's a little bit of a headache. Sometimes things come up that are unexpected, but you will make so much more. If you're looking for a side job, I'm telling you that there's no better side job for a real estate agent than rental properties and flips. You should be doing those. Hopefully have a plan. Like every year I'm going to buy 4 properties. I'm going to do this, many flips, because I'll tell you what, you'll find that by the time you retire, you've got 15, 20, 30 some odd properties, you've got passive income coming in. You can literally retire, and then you get to a point too that you can start turning down people that you don't want to work with because you're not so desperate for money coming in. It's a great place to be. So we had rented out this place for 9 years. I say this now after saying that. What do renters do to your properties? Everyone, when I say that question, oh, they destroy them. They don't, right? They don't take as good of care of them though as you do, and so they don't buy furniture that's perfect for that home, that fits in all the spaces like it should, that matches, because they don't care to do that. It's not that they can't afford it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it's not their home, so why should they invest like that into the property? They don't take care of the landscaping and the watering as much because it's not theirs to do. They're not going to do all the extra things, right? So they don't water as much because they don't want to pay as much in the water bill. So the grass is browner and things have died and stuff like that. So I did a little experiment that I want to share with you. And let me check on my time. Okay, so I had started building this whole program and stuff, but I hadn't, even though I'd done a lot of flips and things, and I had some rental properties in Boise. I knew some agents and stuff that were there, but I would do my own properties, right? Because I was licensed out there. So the house was was rented for 9 years, and I called 5 real estate agents to come and pitch to me what they could do to help me sell the property. I drove up from Salt Lake, went to the home. Now my renters are still living there, right? Their furniture is still in the house. But I had already worked it out with them that they were moving out at the end of that month. So we were like in the middle of the month or towards the beginning. I can't remember what it was, but maybe it was even like a month and a half before I was going to put it up for sale or something. I had planned those out because I knew what to do, right? Most of our clients don't. Most clients would what? Even if it's an investment property, tell you I want it up for sale right now with the renters in the property. By the way, never, ever, ever in your life sell a property with renters in it, ever. Unless you have a big apartment complex and they're buying it because they want renters in there, which for the most part, when people buy a property from you and it's an investment property, they're going to want to improve on it and rent it for more money. That's because they're paying more money for it. They don't think like you think because you bought it 20 or 10 years or 5 years or whatever that is, and you've got more leverage. You've got a bigger cap, they call it, right, on that property. So you can't assume that having a renter in there is going to attract people. Oh, I've already got a renter. They're paying $1,500 a month when I should be getting $2,500 a month or $2,000 for this house. They don't think the way you do because they're buying it with today's price and not at 10 years ago price. Does that make sense? So you never have a renter in there. So I called 5 agents as an experiment as part of this training. So hopefully, if they know who they are, they can just, sorry. I'm pointing the camera because this is being filmed. Not people over here. No, I'm not talking about any agents over here. So I called up these 5 agents and I said, tell me what you can do. I went to the house. I'm sitting in the house. And the first agent that came, she was the top #1 agent in Boise. She had a billboard up there. I even found later that she was on the shopping cart seats, in the grocery store that's pretty local. I hated her guts. Oh my gosh, she was awful. I mean, she was dressed really nice. She came in this white, what is it? It's kind of, I know it sounds horrible to say it this way, but this Jaguar, the Jaguar with the big Jaguar in the front, Mercedes or Jaguar, white, top agents. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so she comes up to the house, literally walks in the house, kind of looks around a little bit, doesn't do a tour or anything like that, comes, sits down, and guess what she spent the first 15, 20 minutes talking about? Herself. Yeah, everybody knows that. Isn't that weird? Yeah, and it wasn't just herself. It was about all the homes that they had. They had the most homes on the market in Boise. Even right now in the house, she had this team of 30. She even showed me all the pictures of all the people she had. And she did talk about marketing and other things like that, but it had nothing to do with my house in particular. It was everything about her and her team and her thing. I can even tell with all of her team members, this is the only time I'm going to see you. I'll see you maybe at the closing table. You'll probably send someone else there too. She was going to send someone to put the sign up, someone to take pictures, some buyer agent on her team. She even told me that to come and do the open house. I was not even going to see her. She was the salesperson that came to the house, right? Oh my gosh, I did not like that lady. Because she... You know what I didn't like about her at the time, because this offends me because I do it too probably, is I hate when someone tries to act like they're the smartest person in the room. They're smarter than I am. They know more about the value of my home, the more about everything I should be doing. Never ask me, what do you think your house is worth? What do you think we should sell it for? It was just Boom, 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 here it is. She had her CMA, this is what the house is worth. She told me the house was worth just over 300,000, like 330,000 or something like that. And she was totally convinced that that's exactly what this was. And I think she's even trying to nip in the bud this idea that I knew better than she did about the price. She had to prove to me that this is what this house is worth, and this is what we'd sell it for, and this is what would happen, and all this kind of stuff. And she yapped the whole time. Barely asked me any questions. Sorry. That's bad. I had 3 other agents that came in that were much nicer and much more pleasant than she was. They were more Lone Ranger agents, meaning they were going to do everything, right? They did talk about themselves. They did have their, to me it's funny, like I talked about this last week, agents come into a listing presentation like it's a job interview. Like I'm trying to sell you on me and this whole thing, and it's all about me, me, me. And it shouldn't be that way. It's about the home. It's about the homeowner and what they're trying to do. So the other agents came in much more pleasant. They did little tours and stuff of the house, complimented the house. Guess what? None of them asked me.
How much?
What you thought it was worth.
No, a couple of them did ask me that, kind of indirectly. But you know what? Is this the house you live in? And is this how it's going to look when we sell it? Anything like that? Because I have renters that live there. And you could tell. I mean, it was just... it was a very mediocre type of experience, right? And I was surprised that no one even asked me. I didn't volunteer it. Hey, I've got renters in here. They're going to move out. I really wanted to see if they would ask me the right questions. I know that sounds bad, but a lot of your sellers are very tight-lipped. They don't share a lot of things. They just kind of expect you to know because you act like you do, honestly. And so, so they were willing to, do the open house, and they're going to do pictures and stuff. None of them offered drone, even though it was around at the time. None of them offered the Matterport. None of them talked about any of that kind of stuff. They basically just talked about how they're going to put it up on the MLS. Have pictures taken and stuff like that. They didn't ask, are you going to clean the house? Are you going to paint it? They didn't look closely at things. There were a couple of rooms that were pretty bad, in terms of that, because it had been rented for 9 years. 9 years of rental. Again, they didn't destroy the house. It's hard to destroy a house, but because cosmetically, it's easy to make it look not so attractive. Easy, very, as you saw in those other pictures. So the last agent that I had come in, she was a very early 20-something, like a 22, 23-year-old, very sweet, bubbly, friendly person, right, comes in. She had no preparation whatsoever, probably no experience. Guess what? One of the first things she offered to distinguish herself from, any others that might offer otherwise.
You're available all the time.
Well, that she would be available. That's true. Because when I asked her about the open house, I'll do 4, I'll do 5, whatever you want. Whatever you want. One of the first things she said, I'll sell your house for 1%. Like right off the bat. I'll sell the house for 1%. Yeah. That was her kind of selling. But she's brand new. She hadn't done it before. But in my mind, as a consumer, what am I thinking? That's more money, right? That I can make from the house. And if I really didn't see if that first agent would have impressed me, I might have chosen her for 3%, but she actually pissed me off, right? She did not impress me at all. There was another agent that I really liked. She was a really experienced, really great person, very good communicator. She really seemed to know what she was doing. I could see that when that house went under contract, and as we were trying to, do all those things that people don't know about, she would be really good at that. She had a lot of good experience, and she was a really kind and good person, and smart as well. So I really liked her. It's kind of hard. But with this really young agent that would do it for 1%, I was in a position where I could do all those other things that I knew needed to be done, because I had been licensed there. And I knew what to do as I, coach agents, what they could do. And she would do it for 1%. So I did. I paid for and ordered the Matterport and the drone and all that kind of stuff. She didn't even know what a Matterport was. She called it a Matterhorn. Disney, I guess, yeah.
That was on it last week.
Yeah, the Matterhorn, yeah. So, and nothing wrong. This is like 10 years, this is several years back, right? So it was newer, right? But, oh, is that?
I hope she's crushing it out.
Oh, I hope she is too. I really hope she is. She's a sweet, sweet girl, right? But she was willing to do. So we did a lot of these things that I'm teaching you to do. And some things are newer, but back then she did a Saturday and Sunday open house. This was well before COVID and the craziness of all that kind of stuff. This was, when did we sell the house? Back in 2013, 14, 15, somewhere around there, right? So, there's still things that would, homes weren't always just flying off the market. We had multiple offers. Oh, by the way, I got 4 CMAs. The fifth one didn't have she didn't have a CMA, but the other 4 had CMAs. You know what the difference was in the CMAs? Like 70 grand between the 4 CMAs of what the house was worth. But everyone was convinced that their number was the right number, right? Because it was a CMA. But they had 4 different ones. They even used different comparables, which is kind of interesting. It wasn't a lot of them were the same, but there were some that were different in that. The highest one was 370. The highest one that said the house was worth 370. I put $13,000 into it to paint and to do the law. I did a couple of bigger things to that home that I knew I should do. I let her know that the renters were moving out and we had the house professionally staged, right, and all that kind of stuff. It was kind of fun to do it. The house sold for $455,000. I did not add a single square foot of room to that house. I didn't add a room or square footage. It was the same house in the same area with professional CMAs that said the house was worth 370 top. That was the top one. The bottom was like right around 300. 370. I sold it for 455. That's like $100,000 difference between this professional CMAs telling me what the house was worth, and I sold it it was like a month and a half later that I did that. I can't impress on you enough. I don't care what the market's doing. Every home that looks better and will sell faster and for more money, every single one, because all you need is that one buyer interested in. I'm not saying that you're manipulating the market, but I'll tell you, because I flipped homes so many times, I almost always sold homes for the most money any home in that area had ever sold for, in almost every case, because at that time it was the best looking house, staged and advertised the best. So why wouldn't it sell for the most? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. It should always sell for the most, unless you're in this declining market and you can't do anything about that. So I have time to show you a quick video, and then I'm going to have to jet out of here. I will tell you for next week, please read that chapter on digital marketing. You need to be prepared for that class. I will hit you with fire hose. You do need to learn how to advertise these properties. And then I will come and I'll have more time. I'll jet out early and I'll walk you through the 5 ads that you do to advertise that property, how you do the single property website and things like that. But let me show you this video, and then I'm actually going to turn this off for those that are watching online because they can watch the video.